Well, greetings out there in YouTube land, and welcome to today's video, which features an unusual brand for Rusty and me. In fact, this is the first video we've ever done featuring an Ampeg amplifier. Hey Rusty, are you as excited as I am about having an Ampeg amp to work on? Instead of those pesky Fenders and Valcos? What do you think, huh? I can tell you're really excited. This is a mid-60s Ampeg Jet model J12D that I found this morning on Craigslist. The seller says that it didn't work, it doesn't work at all, that it's a project amp, and of course my ears perked up, as did Rusty's. Mainly because such statements are usually associated with very low prices and often with very simple problems that are easy and inexpensive to fix. So today we're going to find out if Rusty and I hit a home run or if we took it in the shorts, okay? And this one's got fried transformers and God knows what else is wrong with it. We're all going to see this thing inside and out for the first time. I just brought it home and set it up here on the table. And Rusty and I are going to take it apart and check it out piece by piece. Also, this will provide a good opportunity to show beginners out there how you can evaluate an amp like this fairly quickly and easily to figure out what's wrong with it, and so you can assess what it's going to cost you to fix it up. In this particular case, I did none of that. I just handed the guy a $100 bill and ran out the door. So either I'm the biggest sucker who ever lived, or he is, but we'll find out shortly. Hey Rusty, are you as excited as I am about this new Ampeg that we get to take apart and see what's wrong with it, huh? Are you as bustling with energy as you usually are? God, I can tell you're enthusiastic about this project. First off, let's take a look at the cosmetics of the amp, the outside of it. Then maybe pull the back door, take a look inside, and then pull the chassis and really take a look inside and start trying to figure out why this amp does not work. Okay, first off, for a mid-60s amp, it's in beautiful shape. I just love this cabinet covering material that Ampeg uses. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's sort of like an optical illusion material. Really nice. And in this case, it's in just about perfect shape. Still has the corner protectors, really nice original grill cloth, and the proud Ampeg name tag on the front. It's got a great looking handle. In fact, it's so nice, it makes me very suspicious that it's a replacement. I'm going to have to go in and check on some photos to see if this actually is original or not, but I'm betting it isn't. It's just in too good a shape. You know, when I first saw this amp, the condition was so good, I thought, man, this may be a reissue, and this guy's, you know, trying to pull a fast one. But looking at the surface corrosion here on the control panel, I don't think so. I think this is everything that it's supposed to be, which is a mid-60s Ampeg Jet. We'll see what's special about the J12 in just a minute. You see here there's a serial number. I'm going to use this to figure out a more accurate date on when this was made. 2 inputs. We'll do a schematic review in just a minute and see if there's a difference between the inputs. We've got a volume, tone, and a tremolo control, which is real nice. It's got the on-off built in. Okay, then the power switch, of course, and pilot light. I don't see a fuse anywhere, and that's always an issue. When you have an amp that just quits working, you're thinking, oh, it must be a fuse. But there isn't one apparent on this. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it's inside and the guy never bothered to look. Another interesting touch are these weird, like socket head screws that are used on this amp. Generally, when I see stuff like this, I think either it was put on afterwards, but in this case I don't think so, because the handle's held on by those same screws and they're just as corroded as the handle metal clip here. I'm thinking they are done by Ampeg to keep people from just opening the rear of the amp casually and sticking screwdrivers in and screwing them up. Okay, so it may be a way to kind of protect the innards from the ill-informed. Well, I got the back door off. You can see they put a little bit of tin foil here to shield the input jacks from probably radio frequency interference. We've got the majority of a schematic here on the bottom of the back door, which is always nice. Fortunately, there are schematics on the internet that are not missing big chunks like this one. Next, we've got the 2-wire power cord, so that hasn't been changed. Let's take a look inside here. We see a modern Jensen Special Design speaker, a C12R, which I can certainly live with. Be nice to have the original, but we don't. If you have to have a replacement, this one will certainly do. Over here is a nice little tag from Ampeg telling us the model number and serial number, and what appears to be a serial number tag up above. Let's take a look in here at the chassis of this beast, and the capacitors look fairly original, and I see the interior fuse here, and let's take a look real close at it, and sadly it looks like it's intact. I say that because if I could fix this thing with a 50-cent fuse, this would be a home run. Okay, let's take a look inside this 1966 Ampeg J12D Jet amplifier. The most unusual feature about it are the tubes that Ampeg chose to put into the amp. Kind of a mixed blessing, actually, because these tubes now have gotten rather expensive and hard to find. JJ is making replacements. These are 7591S tubes. Now, the originals in the Ampeg were 7591As. My understanding is that JJ makes a very, very good replica of the original 7591A. Many of the replica tubes for 7591s are actually just 6L6s that are relabeled. Okay, the performance of the 7591A is very much like a 6L6, except that they can handle plate voltages of well over 500 volts. Even more unusual is this pair of tubes. These are compactrons. They were made by General Electric, invented back around 1961 for use in color television sets. Now, what's really special about them, besides the fact they're so short and so fat, and that they have 12 pins, so wiring these sockets is a real nightmare. But what's special is that they contain multiple different components within them. In this case, because these are 6BK11s, they contain 3 triodes. Now, I think most of us are aware that tubes like 12AX7s have 2 triodes within them. And there are some tubes that have a triode and a pentode in them. But in this case, there's 3 separate triodes within each one of these tubes. Although the 7591s have been replaced, it's nice to see that the 2 6BK11s are original GE Compactron tubes. And tubes of this type, the original ones, I've seen sell for up to $100 a piece. So let's take a look at how those triple triodes are used. First off, right up here is the first of the 2 compactrons. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 triodes. One of them is used as the preamplifier stage for the input jacks here. And then the second and third triode are used to form a paraphase phase inverter to drive the 7591A tubes. Now, the second compactron is right down here. We can see 1, 2, 3 triode stages, and it is used for the tremolo effect. The first of the 3 triodes is the oscillator, and you can see here that we have our phase shifting loop with 3 different capacitors creating our oscillation that is fed into the actually paired up or ganged second and third triodes of the 6BK11. Another unusual feature is that the tremolo output is not used to modulate bias. It's not connected to a cathode of one of our output tubes or a phase inverter, but is actually injected here between the input jack and the grid of the first preamp tube. Another unusual feature is the use of a full wave bridge rectifier. Not a full wave rectifier with diodes like in a Fender Bassman, or a tube rectifier like a 5Y3, but a full wave bridge rectifier, which if you watched any of my power supply videos, I hope you realize is an extremely efficient type of rectification and does not require a center tap on the secondary of the power transformer. Next, I set it down on the floor for Rusty to do the sniff test. This is the easiest way I know of to find if the power transformer has failed or an output transformer. I see him licking his chops, which would indicate to me that the transformers are probably okay. What do you think, Rusty? Are those transformers okay? Oh, that's the highest praise a transformer can get. Let me show you a real quick and easy way to test the primary winding of any power transformer in an amplifier. You can do this without spooking the seller a whole lot. Just take the in this case, two-prong cord, put your ohm meter across the contacts of it, and then reach up and turn on the toggle power switch and see if you have continuity. In this case, we do. So that tells me that at least the primary of the power transformer is good. Also, if you get no reading, or if it's an open winding, you can also check to make sure that the fuse is in good shape. So with this simple test, I've proven that the primary of the power transformer is okay, and the fuse and the power switch are okay. Okay, we've already determined that the primary is okay on the power transformer. Now let's test the secondary. If you notice, this uses a full wave bridge rectifier. So let's find the two wires then that connect to the full wave bridge rectifier, and if there is continuity between them, that will mean that the secondary is okay. And here is the full wave bridge rectifier, and here are the two wires from the transformer that connect with it. Let's see if there's continuity between this point and this point. Okay, here's the ohm meter. Now I'm going to connect to those 2 points. Keep your fingers crossed and hope we get continuity. Bingo. The secondary is in good shape. Next, we're going to check the secondary of the output transformer. Disconnect one lead from the speaker. We'll see if we have continuity between this lead and this lead. And the only way for that to happen is if the secondary is intact. Okay, here we go. Keep your fingers crossed again. Yep, secondary is intact. Okay, so we know the secondary of the output transformer is intact. Now let's check the primary, and the way we do that is see if there's continuity between pin 3 of the this 7591A and pin 3 of this 7591A. Again, the only way there can be continuity is if the primary winding is intact. Okay, here you can see I've stuck my probes into the little holes in the tip of pin 3 and pin 3. Now let's take a look at the ohm meter and see if we have continuity. Again, fingers crossed. Yep. So, in about a minute and a half, we have verified that both of the transformers are intact. And also, once again, Rusty was right. I've come to trust him completely, but I just thought for the video purposes, it might be good to go through and prove using instrumentation just how right his sniffer is. Hey Rusty, I want you just to calm down now. You've really worked hard on this video, and I want you just to take it easy. That's a good dog. Next, let's use our trusty ESR meter to test the status of each of these lugs from the electrolytic capacitor. First one, no measurable capacitance. Second one, not too bad. Third one, pretty good. Fourth one, unless that's a cathode bypass cap, it may be okay. But this first one is absolutely devoid of any capacitance. So I'm suspicious of two of these, and particularly that first one that I tested. And sure enough, when I look here up close, I can see that there's material extruding. The dielectric is coming up from inside the filter capacitor around the lead that was so disappointing on its ESR reading. The other three, I don't see any of that type of dielectric extrusion, but when one of them is doing it, it certainly makes you very suspicious of the other three. There you can see that the four lugs of the electrolytic capacitor have been disconnected, and I have wired in two 20s and a 40 back behind them, and then the 20, it was at 25 volts, but I made it a 25 at 50 volts cathode bypass cap. So now all the electrolytics have been replaced. Okay, I've hooked the ohm meter lead onto the 40 microfarad cap lug and the other lead here onto the chassis. And you know, we should have infinite resistance across that big electrolytic capacitor. Instead, it's measurable. It's fairly high, but measurable. And this means that that capacitor was leaking the high voltage directly to ground, probably getting really, really hot. Okay, we checked all the transformers and proved that they work just fine. We've replaced all four of the electrolytic capacitors, and we've installed a brand new chassis grounding 3-wire power cord. Now let's plug it in and do some electrical tests under power, beginning with a check of the tube bias. Alright, I measured the exact resistance across the cathode bias resistor, and it's 146 ohms. Let's now see what the voltage drop is across it. This will give us an idea of the total plate current being drawn by the two 7591As. Okay, turn it on. Let's see what the voltage drop is across that biasing resistor. Getting a 60 cycle hum, which isn't good. And it looks like it's around 100. Oh, now look what just happened. There's a pop and it doubled. This is not a good sign. Let me turn it off and we're going to have to figure that one out. Okay, let's watch an interesting phenomenon that accompanies that pop and sudden increase in plate current. Watch this area inside the tube on both of these 7591As. I'll turn it on. Now we'll let it warm up. Here comes the hum. Rustling. There went the pop, and look at the glowing internally in the tube. Let me turn it off. Now we're going to switch the tubes and the sockets to see if it's the tube or the socket that's causing the problem. Okay, now I've switched the tubes. The one that glowed is over here, and we'll see if it glows again. Then obviously it's the tube that's at fault. However, if this one now glows, the one that was okay the first test, then it's something in the wiring of this socket. Okay, the amp is on. Here comes the hum. They want the pop, and it's glowing on the right. So we have a defective 7591A. Well, I guess we know now why the amp suddenly quit working. I just ordered a replacement 7591S JJ tube from Antique Electronics Supply, so let's put this video on hold for a few moments and wait for that tube to arrive. And here it is. Pretty good service, eh? Well, let's get this tube unpacked and into the amp. So out with the bad and in with the new. Let's plug it in and see how the new tube works. Okay, now let's measure the voltage drop across that 146 ohm biasing resistor. We've got our DC voltmeter down here at the bottom. Let's switch on the amp and let it warm up. Okay, we still have a little hum. I'm going to have to check into that, but it looks like the voltage drop is around 14.79 volts. And when you divide the 14.79 voltage drop by the 146 ohms of the resistor, we get a current for both tubes. This is the combination of 101.3 milliamps. We divide by 2, so the average plate current is around 50.7 milliamps. Now let's check the plate voltage from the plate, which is pin 3, to the cathode, which is pin 5. And after it warms up, we see it's around 344.5 volts. So with a plate voltage of 344.5 and a plate current of 50.7 milliamps, we have a plate dissipation of 17.44 watts. This is the tube data for the 7591S. You can see that the plate current typical is around 60 milliamps. We're a little bit below that. The plate voltage is typically around 300 or a little higher with a max of 550. Ours is 344, a little bit higher, and our 17.44 watts is just below the maximum plate dissipation of 19. So I'd say that these tubes were just ideally biased. Okay, we've got it plugged in and turned on. I've still got a little bit of that hum in the background, which I will look into in the next few days. But for now, let's see how it sounds with the new capacitors and the new tube. Now let's try a little tremolo. The control is for speed, so I'll start it off real slow and swampy. Now let's try a medium setting. Now it's cranked up to maximum speed. Well, that about does it on this change of pace video featuring the mighty Ampeg J12D Jet amplifier. I hope that the diagnostic procedures I use to evaluate this amp are useful to you on any newly acquired amplifier. And I hope that you'll stay tuned and join us again in the near future for more videos. Meanwhile, it's over and out from Rusty, Jack, and me. Bye for now. Rusty, I just want to thank you for all your hard work on this video. I want to tell you how much I appreciate your help. And you're welcome to just lay around the shop all you want. Well, guess not.